Okay, good glorious morning, everyone. Welcome to my patio. Um, Welcome to another presentation of Lavender House. Lavender House is a ministry of love, and I pretty much do whatever is needed to be done in the name of love. So far, that's my mission statement. I've been sitting on the patio where I do my contemplation and my spiritual thinking and my spiritual connection, and many times I think of what can I share today that would be beneficial, that would be uplifting, that would be loving. And this morning I was thinking about discipline. And of course, it's inspired by some pattern of my life recently. And I had the most amazing 3 little visitors, along with 2 adults, but 3 little visitors who would travel a great distance, about a 3-hour car ride. And they're all, I think, the age of 7 and under. So lots and lots of energy. And I remember telling my friend, I says, oh, now I remember when I was a child and when we were growing up. In our culture, the culture of our community, I can remember telling my grandmother, Ellie, I don't want to go to cousin so-and-so's house anymore because I can't do anything, I can't say anything, and I can't touch anything. I just have to sit down. And I told my friend, I says, oh my gosh, I'm the old person now. Of course, my grandmother was considerably older than me, and her friend was even older than her. And so it was customary when a child went with you to someone else's home, especially if there were not other children present. If there were other children present, normally you would be escorted to the room where the other children were, or outside where the other children were, where they were playing. But when you would go into the home of an elderly person and there were no other children available, then you pretty much had to sit down. And I told my friend, I says, yeah, and the couches were covered with plastic. And so when you would go in the summertime and you had just walked to their house and you sit down, you'd be squirming because your bottom was freaking sweating on that plastic, I says, and that same couch was about 10 years old and had been covered with that plastic the whole time. And you couldn't touch nothing. And of course, back then, children were not as chattery, Oh my goodness. So, but the way we were taught, okay, I understand. I think I understand on a different level why the elderly people kind of, I want to say, disciplined us the way that they did. For the most part, if they had a couch and they had gotten that couch and it was brand new, they protected it, okay? Because the majority of the people back that time were not, well, for the most part, I think they were mostly impoverished. And so they weren't, that was their way of taking care of things, all right? And there was no jumping on the furniture and all these sorts of things. But what I recognized yesterday was that children, and the three children were girls, and so they brought that wonderful feminine energy. Now, feminine energy, as you may know, well, some of you may not, feminine energy is constant. We are the creators. We are Mother Earth. And so, just like you see, the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and everything moving, that's the feminine energy, okay? The masculine energy is a bit more of strength and subtlety. So, if you want the table moved, then you tell them, okay, and that's what they do. And immediately after the job is done, they sit down. Okay? So I'm dealing with these three beautiful youngsters who have inspired this presentation today about discipline. And I realized that I was the old person now. And so I think there's a nervousness that you get when you're older, and all this busyness comes into your presence, because I felt a little anxious. I felt a little, for a time out of control, or because each one was constantly moving and constantly wanting this and wanting to explore and all these things, and when you're older and your hearing is not as alert as it should be, the adults are talking, the children are moving, and everybody's asking something, can we go here, can you go this, can we do this, can we go this, can we go upstairs, can we, it was amazing. But I really felt like the old person, and I understood the old people a little bit more, because when you've raised the children and then they're adults, there comes a time in your life where your hormones change, your nerves change, and you have less of a tolerance, and you can be kicked off your kilter in a heartbeat. So hence the topic, discipline. And so I was active with the children, but at the same time, the children were so busy. And so when I'm talking about discipline today, I want you to recognize this is not a judgment, this is an observation. Paul said, when I was a child, I thought as a child, I behaved as a child. But now that I've become a mature adult, I no longer behave as a child. Okay, I put away childish things. And so as we mature, we should become more disciplined, okay? And the first thing that came to my mind this morning was not the episode with the children, but it was my mind. Because I woke up this morning and my mind was a chatterbox. I was thinking about this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing. You would have thought I was a fly. Just going this way and that. And it was about 4 o'clock in the morning when I woke up. I woke up to go to the restroom, and there was that. And I said, oh no, Lord, help me get my mind together. And the reason for that was the majority of the thoughts I was having were not in accordance with Philippians 4, I think it's verse 8, where he says, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are praiseworthy. Those were not my thoughts this morning. I was splitting from here to there to here to there. And basically, for the most part, and don't look at me like that because you do this too. All of us do. If we don't discipline the mind, it will go into the circumstances of life. And Spirit has always taught me, you cannot walk upon the water if you're looking at the wind. And of course you can't see the wind, but you can see the consequences of the wind. You can see what the wind is blowing around. Okay, so one of the things that I thought about was coronavirus. One of the things I thought about was health and health issues. One of the things that I thought about was, oh gosh, I can't even remember now. But what I did, as soon as I could, as soon as I got back to my room, I sat in lotus position in my bed because I knew I was going to go back to sleep at some point. And I said my prayers. I said my Our Fathers. I said, I recited them out loud. And that was to hear my voice, because faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word. And that was to reestablish my mind. And the verse that helped me do that was the verse in Psalms 23 that says, you lead me beside the peaceful waters. You restore my soul. All right. And so I said that, and I did some ohms, just breathing and ohming, and I actually went into a meditative state where I was silent. And I don't know how long I stayed there. Soon I felt like I was done, and I lay back down, and I went back to sleep for another little while. Now when I woke up in the morning once again, and I got ready to go for a bike ride, there's a lot of construction going on, and so I was being cautious and careful, and I was appreciating the surroundings, the cool breeze of the morning, the sunshine, and all this whole different scenario. And then I got around a curve where there was not much construction, but there was a lot more traffic. And then I began to think, oh my, I better find a sidewalk. I better, be safe. I better, be cautious. And I could feel that same point of anxiety and that same point of not being in total control of everything, okay, that I had felt the day before with the children. And I thought, okay, Lord, I need to pay attention to my thoughts, because I don't intend to have an accident. I don't intend for anybody to run over me. Why would I even entertain those thoughts? Herein lies the discipline. So I want to wrap this up for the sake of time and you listening to me with a scripture, one of my favorites, Romans 12:1-2. I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you offer your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, I've talked a lot over the past few days, past few weeks, with the coronavirus, and especially with the protesting and the things that have come up, where we are looking at the wind, where we are focusing on what seems to be all the corruption and all the fear and all the violence and all these things. You know, there are stories in the Bible that tell us that Jesus left the crowds from time to time. He would go away. He would get into that quiet place. And so when I come out here in the mornings, I'm coming into my sanctuary, into my quiet place, into my meditation place, into my oneness place. And by the time I pick up the device to make a video to share with you guys, I am feeling that oneness with all there is, all there ever was, all there will ever be. And from that place, I remind us all to discipline your minds. Be ye transformed. Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are praiseworthy, whatsoever things are excellent, think on these things. And the peace of God that passes all understanding will keep your minds. All right? You don't have to be frazzled just when 3 darling little girls come into your life. You can relax and enjoy the company and the energy. Yeah, it was a beautiful visit. And it was an inspiring visit. And it reminded me to renew my mind, to get back to that oneness, and to get back to that energy, that vibrance, to get back to that happiness, that delightful excitement that wants to explore everything in life. I remember one of them saying, they mentioned that I have butterflies in my bathroom. It says, you've got butterflies everywhere. I'm a butterfly. I want to be a butterfly. And I said, my darling, you definitely are a butterfly. But just the chatter, just the excitement, just the exuberance. And believe me, when I woke up first thing this morning, I wanted to get back to that vibrance, that happiness, that joy, that excitement, that energy. So, I hope some part of this message has